Your yearly The Colts are in the quarterback market comes with this update. Carson Wentz will probably be traded or released by March 18th, according to Chris Mortensen of ESPN. Wentz is on the hook. Actually, the Colts are on the hook for $15 million in 2022, no matter what. If he plays, he'll count for $28 million against the Colts cap, the highest number on the team. If the team cuts him before March 19th, the Colts will save roughly $13 million and have $51 million to work with. So there's a dollars and cents element to it. Obviously, that deal could be reworked, but probably the feeling is they don't want to rework it. So what went so wrong? Like I don't think any of this it's a misevaluation of it, right? But this is what happens when a team underachieves. And I told you guys before, the Colts, the Ravens, I'll sit there and say, hey, we had 17 guys on IR. The Chargers, some of their losses were indescribably bad. They have not made wholesale changes as of yet. The Colts thought they had a potential Super Bowl team. Thought they'd figured out the quarterback. They didn't, and now Chris Ballard thinks they need yet another quarterback. And a lot of the talk out of Indy was he just wasn't good enough, right? And you look at how they finished the season. You know, you lose to the Jaguars and Raiders. You lose to the Jaguars last game of the season, tells you all you need to know. But there were some good things, but whatever is missing in connecting the dots, when you have Frank Reich as your coach, who's seen as a quarterback whisperer, who had a pre-existing relationship with Carson Wentz swore by him, and he swore by Carson Wentz, and it still doesn't work, it tells you, yeah, that's probably it for Carson Wentz as a starter. And it's fascinating because there's a guy whose career got off to an outstanding start, had a bunch of injuries, right? Tore his ACL famously, right? After his second season, having an incredible year, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and was never the same. His completion percentage picked up. His quarterback rating seemed good enough, but there just is something missing, and the Colts are putting basically their lack of a playoff appearance on his shoulders. And in fairness, it's not like he doesn't have a good enough running game. Jonathan Taylor's a great running back. But here's a guy who's going to be sent out to pasture. I think the whole Wentz thing is phenomenal, is fantastic. And from this perspective, while I believe that Philly screwed it up, right? Philly's inability to figure out how to manage the fact that his backup had won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles had won a Super Bowl. By rushing him back the next year and him trying to save the day, the changes in the coaching staff, look, it screwed him up. But I also would point out that some of that points to his makeup, and it's really, really hard. This is a hard profession. What I don't want to hear is, I don't want to hear Kyler Murray go, hey, everybody's blaming me. Nobody's blaming you to the level that they're blaming Carson Wentz in Indy. That's the nature of the job. I would love to sit here and tell you that it's solely Philly's fault. They killed his confidence and mismanaged this thing, and the Jalen Hurts situation and how they handled it, and it's Philadelphia, the toxicity of Philadelphia. But yeah, okay. You went to Indy, you played indoors, you had a great running game, a very good offensive coach, a pre-existing relationship, and you played every game. They didn't make the playoffs. Statistically, you were fine. Realistically, you were not. And they're showing you the door, even though you don't cost them a ton of money next year. What they're saying is, this ain't working out. And once you get to that second stop, once you work through another head coach and you work through a guy, it's not burning bridges, but once the guy who you have the best relationship with is like, yeah, we got to move on here, tells you all you need to know. It wasn't just all Philly. I think Philly screwed it up. I do. But I think Wentz screwed it up as well. I do believe that confidence is a huge factor, and he never really seemingly got that swagger back after tearing his ACL and then some of the subsequent little injuries and all that he went through in Philadelphia. I don't know if there's a solution, right? Because it wasn't like they didn't want to win a Super Bowl, but when they won the Super Bowl, it was with Nick Foles, who wasn't that good, and their team was stacked, and they tried to run it back, and then injuries befell them, and ultimately Wentz had to go. But I'm not sure there was a ton of fixing it, but we can all point out that what it did to him mentally, and maybe what it did to him physically as well, didn't help. But some of that also shows Carson Wentz's inability to deal with adversity, his inability to overcome. This is really at the heart of what I said about Simone Biles in the summer. Right? That so much of this stuff is confidence related, right? And I'm not going to compare the horrors of what she went through, previously in her life with a knee injury to Carson Wentz. I'm not so obtuse that I don't realize that it is all related. But if we just take the idea that she had the yips, she had a performance anxiety of some sort, right? We're very and rightfully sensitive to it, probably overly so. Now, Carson Wentz hasn't come out and said, like, hey, I got a crisis in self-confidence, but that's quite obviously what it is. Right? He's not the same guy. He's not the same guy since the injury. He's not the same guy since his backup won a Super Bowl. He's not the same guy since Jalen Hurts won over the fans. He's not the same guy since, really since 2017 when they lost to the Rams. Not the same guy. And if Carson Wentz were to say, like, hey, I got to get my mentals together, I'm feeling like I'm in a bad place. That's why I'm holding the ball, because I'm seeing ghosts. We would clown him. Even to this day, Carson Wentz sucks. I'm sure Carson Wentz, if you eliminate so much of that negative mental thinking, that negative thinking, I'm sure he's look, dude's 6'5", 235. He's a stud of an athlete, got a gigantic arm. But that mental side to it, the toughness to it, the ability to take criticism, to change places, to figure out, the ability to lead guys who may or may not truly believe in you, that's what the best have. That's what the best have. And Wentz obviously doesn't have it.